Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew: Keith Johnson,
I have returned from subspace.
Alan Seiler,
Thank you, Charles. You are an unending source of astonishment.
and Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And this is our 100th episode.
Woo! 100!
I know.
Whoa!
Yeah, and welcome back, Keith. We've missed you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We would not be able to do a 100 without you.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to make it back finally, guys. It's been a journey. Literally.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Well, do you have any This Week in Trek this week?
I do got a couple of things, pretty much all pertaining with the original series, and I brought them up because a couple of these are seminal, one for good and one for bad. I was reading about
Where'd he go? Keithy? You still with us? Oh, no.
Okay. Well, we
Oh,
lost Keith.
oh. He's still there somewhere.
able to hear me.
Okay, yes, we
Yay, there
can
he
now.
is.
Hey.
Yeah, that was real weird. I'm not really sure what happened there, guys. Okay, this is all original series stuff. On December 27th, 1966, the final draft was turned in and primary filming was ready to start for a little episode called A Taste of Armageddon.
Hey.
Ooh. Which
One of
has
the
been
top
much in
episodes
discussion
of
lately.
Season 1.
Yes, and Alan,
Like
that's one
anyone
reason-
would rate it highly.
Yes, I know, right?
Who wouldn't?
Right.
Yes, and that's one reason I wanted to bring this up because what our good friend Matt and Elaine Sweatman have been doing with rating the original series shows. This one didn't rank as highly as some people thought. Matt says, "Ha."
Who'd have thought A Taste of Armageddon would be the big contentious episode of his ratings? Poor
Yeah.
Matt.
Right. Right.
But yeah, just an incredible classic episode. I mean, and it's so forward thinking. I mean, it's a whole thing about computers taking over because this is computers are fighting a war. It is honestly, it is chilling, but kind of eminently logical. Like, why not? If you can keep having a war and keep fostering your hate, but your civilization goes on, that's revolting. Kirk found it revolting, but let's be honest, there'd be societies that would do that. Why not keep
Yeah.
killing people and keep your society? It's a powerful show. Powerful show.
Yep.
Then, this is funny. On the flip side, on December 30th in 1968, the final draft was finished for, and then 2 days later, principal filming began on Turnabout Intruder,
Oh.
the last episode in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
And as probably as polar opposite in terms of positive messages and what is considered to be a good show. And of course, for those who may not know, that's the one where Kirk's old girlfriend switched bodies with him because no matter what anybody says, folks, this is what Roddenberry intended at that time. And that time when he wrote this script, he was saying that women could not serve as captains in Starfleet. That's the show. The reason I bring that up is over the decades, people have retconned that to say that Janice Lester being crazy, it was her who couldn't be a captain of Starfleet, not all women. And in her paranoia, she pretended that it was her. That's not the case.
Yep.
Not a good episode. And I actually found an interview with Shatner and Nimoy a few years later where they said that they went to Roddenberry and told him they were unhappy because that script definitely indicated that women could not serve as captains in Starfleet at that time. So it's an ugly thing. It's a frustrating thing that a man as progressive as Gene still had that little bit of sexism in him, but it is what it is. And it's also, as bad as the show is, I remember the really horrible scene where William Shatner sitting in his quarters, literally filing his nails as McCoy is trying to talk to him. And that's such a cringy scene.
It's terrible.
Yeah. I have a lot to add to that.
And the last thing we have, sad news. And I got away from doing deaths and so forth, but we do birthdays. And we have a really important one, and that was yesterday, correct, Alan? December 28th,
That's right.
the 90th birthday of one Nichelle Nichols.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the greatest human beings ever produced by our race.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And you
Okay.
have some words to say, Alan, about
Yeah,
that?
well,
You've looked at some things.
Yeah, well, this is something that's kind of newsworthy, and it's kind of a big thing, and I'm really excited about it. So yesterday, on Nichelle Nichols' 90th birthday, they launched the Nichelle Nichols Foundation on what would be her 90th birthday. The foundation's goal is to continue Nichelle's legacy of increasing inclusivity in STEAM education. So I'm sure most people are familiar with STEM, which is an acronym that stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And STEAM adds the an art component to that.
Mhm.
The flagship project for the foundation will be the Nichelle Nichols Cadet Space Camp. Starting in 2024, the foundation will send young students chosen from worldwide locations to Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama, where they will learn to, quote, work as a team and confront mission scenarios that require dynamic problem solving and critical thinking, 21st century learning skills required in the workplace. Nichelle's younger sister, Marion, is the president of the foundation, and she said, quote, education is the gateway to dreams, and our young people are our future. Thank you, Whitney Houston. With Nichelle Nichols as our guiding star, we continue the mission to make an impact in young people's lives and create a path for STEAM-related education and careers. The Nichelle Nichols Foundation will advance her dream to inspire future generations who will shape our world in the image of Star Trek and its philosophy of infinite diversity in infinite combinations. A world that is diverse, kind, and peaceful. And I can think of nothing better to honor the legacy of a woman like Nichelle than launching this kind of endeavor that is all about diversity and inclusivity and furthering space exploration. And I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about the Nichelle Nichols Foundation, their partnerships and advisors, and you can also donate, visit their website at nichellenichols.foundation.
Okay. That sounds like a
Awesome.
great initiative.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It is. It really is. And I
And
always
that's-
find it so. I'm sorry. I always find it so fascinating that this is a woman who we talked about was going to quit the show because one episode you heard her say hailing frequencies open, and that's almost all she says. And yet she took the opportunities that that show gave her and did something with it, because she could have just said whatever, that was a job. And look at all the stuff she did outside of Star Trek.
That's
After
right.
that. Amazing.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's take a quick break if you're listening to the audio podcast and promote a fellow ESO Network podcast show. But come right back because we're going to be talking about the 100th episode of the Star Trek show. So stay right there. And if you're watching with us live, we're going to continue on. And we're talking about redemption first off.
Yeah, redemption.
Now, we didn't quite nail down. Are we talking Redemption 2 also or just Redemption 1?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, good. Because I like Redemption
So-
2 better.
It also seems like one story anyway. I mean, it
Oh,
is.
it
but,
is. It
like,
is.
how can you talk about part one of a two-parter and not talk about the entire thing? But
Well, and the way they
Easily.
did this, the way they did those two-parters, though, they would write part one and then
Mhm.
go off for summer break and then come back and write part two. So they weren't
Yeah.
produced together a lot
Right.
of times. But still, part one of this one feels very much like setup for part two all the way through to me.
Let me ask: Did all of y'all watch Redemption first run?
Oh, yeah.
no,
Okay, Veronica. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't have. Huh?
no, I wouldn't have
When
watched
is-
any of this first run.
When do you think you first saw Redemption first run, Veronica?
I have no idea. I know it was one of the ones I'd seen before because I remembered
Mm.
Tasha Yar coming back, and I've obviously
Mm.
seen it multiple times since I've been with Chuck.
Mhm.
But I don't remember the first time I saw it. I saw it prior. Saw it pre-Chuck.
The reason I always wonder is because I know those of us who saw it first run, if you remember, every time a Klingon came on screen in those days, it was something new. Remember the Klingons, they were literally being reshaped and formed every episode. The whole thing about honor and the stuff with Worf. And so I was sometimes think for somebody who may just grown up kind of surrounded by Klingons and then seeing this, probably wouldn't have the impact that it had, say, for me, because I saw it first run. It was just, everything was just so new. His brother and the stuff about honor and the council. It was amazing at that time when every time, and I know what's his name, Ronald D. Moore became the Klingon guy. And it was just everything about the Klingons then was new and exciting, just to see them craft it like that.
I want to get 2 comments really quickly. Matt Sweatman. Well, first let's do Elaine's first. She did not see it first run. She saw it for the first time last week, and Matt saw the 2 parts over a summer break, like God intended. There you go.
Back when Next Gen was on, like the Klingon episodes were the big mythology episodes.
Yeah,
that was the big continuing story, was when the Klingon episodes would crop up and you find out sort of what happens next. Next Gen had serialized elements, but it was very, very episodic still. We hadn't really gotten to the serialization of DS9 yet. And so it was always exciting for me whenever there was a big Klingon episode. I mean, you'd have Borg episodes, but they were fewer and farther between than the Klingon episode. You'd have at least a big Klingon story every season.
You're right. It was always exciting, whether it was Worf doing his little Klingon calisthenics or whatever new weapon he was going to kill somebody with, or him babbling about honor and stuff. You're right. It was always exciting stuff.
Right.
I think that one of the absolute strengths of Next Generation was the way that they embraced and embellished and developed the Klingon society. I think that, that is absolute world building in the truest sense. I think that they fleshed out that concept so incredibly well, and those are always the highlights for me, even though like every time there's a major milestone Klingon episode, that tells you, okay, there's going to be a lot of Klingons in it, but it also means that there ain't going to be no Troy and there ain't going to be no Dr. Crusher. They can't think of anything for those people to do in those episodes. So at least in this one, for the second part, which was the first episode of the following season, all of them were in there. Geordi and Gates and Deanna, they were all in it in a very minor way, but at least they were there. The first half, there's like nothing. They're in the little lineup at the end when Worf is going off, but they didn't get apart or anything.
Right. Well, one thing I like about the redemption arc, Alan, and I want to follow on what you said, is and Charles, you said too, we talked about they build the mythology of the Klingons. And one of the things you find out, because Guinan says this to Worf on at least a couple of occasions, Worf, not having grown up in the Empire, mythologizes the Empire. He idolizes it. He idealizes the Empire. Yes. To him, it's all about honor, which is what their own mythology tells himself. But what's going on in this show? The Klingons are breaking their own law. Tyrell he cannot be the next ruler of the Empire. I don't even know if their own laws would allow the illegitimate son of somebody to become the next leader of the Empire. But as Picard said, and Picard is not inventing the laws, their own laws say this boy has not fought any battles. He's not shed any blood. So by their own laws, he cannot be the next chancellor. But because he's powerful, they follow him. And I love when Guinan was talking to Worf when they were on that weird phaser dot range where they were shooting at the dots. I love the thing she said, because she has said this to Worf more than once, which is, you need to reconcile what it is to be a real Klingon. You're an idealized Klingon. Like he basically said, Klingons don't laugh. She's like, are you kidding? Of course they laugh. They're not just all serious all the time. And I love this show because this show is about the Klingon Empire not living up to its own ideals, and somebody like Worf from the outside, and no spoilers, but way into DS9 you will see this. Somebody like Worf has to remind the Empire of its own ideals, while at the same time he has to realize that the Empire is not ideal. And I love that about those arcs.
And I think that Worf essentially being an outsider, like he is not part of the Empire. He is part of the Federation. And I think that him being in that position and sort of mythologizing, as you say, the what the Empire stands for, he is the one being removed from it, is the one that's basically the true keeper of the
Yeah.
ideals. You know, he's the one
Yeah.
that
That's true.
isn't tainted by the politics that goes on and all that kind of stuff. He has that removed view of this is what we should be. And he's the one who always gets called out for being not a true Klingon because he's tainted by human morals and you know, being raised by humans and all this kind of stuff and wearing a Starfleet uniform. But he's the one who keeps that true flame burning.
Mhm.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
I
agree.
loved Worf's line back to Guinan in that scene in the firing range when he said, "Maybe I don't feel like other Klingons."
Mm,
You know,
right.
which
Right.
I mean, that's Worf. You know, he's
Right.
trying to be the ultimate Klingon, and he's so different from all of them. And I love the little bits of Klingon mythology or Klingon sort of culture we get in this, particularly how they're all just drinking and partying together the night before a battle. Tomorrow we'll
Right.
kill each other, but tonight we're just drinking and singing songs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and it's great because it's great because Worf is trying to give his brother all these reports about the ship, and he's like, "Look, dude, seriously, who cares at this point in time? Get drunk, get drunk, and enjoy yourself."
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I want to also point out that this episode introduces two of the greatest characters ever, and they only it's shocking to look and actually see how few episodes they appear in, and that's Lorsa and Betor.
Yep.
Fantastic characters, and I love that sort of the machinations behind the scenes where they're trying to manipulate the scenario and, you know, position their foothold, and oh my god, it's so great until you realize that they're collaborating with Romulans. That is so fascinating to me, you know.
Yeah.
This whole like governmental, you know, ploy to they're doing a thing that, you know, basically to gain power, but they also want to strengthen the Klingon Empire, but they're doing it by messing around with Romulans. So good. Love it.
Yeah. And I love in this one how it's Picard who's encouraging Worf to go get his honor back.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
He's the
pushing
one who's
for it.
like, yeah, take it from me. Like, go. Like, we're going back. Like, you told me that you're gonna reclaim your honor. Like, let's do it. We're going there now. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I also love that it's Picard who doesn't let him take the steps he wants to take.
Mhm.
You know, Worf is like, you told me to get my honor back, and I'm doing that by borrowing Federation files on all these things. And Picard's like, but you know, that gets us involved in an internal conflict, and that's not our job.
Right.
You are a Klingon, and I am your Chadich, but we are still Federation, and we have to walk those two separate paths
Mhm.
and not let them cross each other. I love
Yeah,
that.
'cause
I love that scene.
I like the real world politics, and obviously as we talk about this, we're involved in real world politics right now with Russia and Ukraine and possibly China and Taiwan. And I like because if you remember that Gowron and Worf made this impassioned plea to Picard, telling him the truth and the logic, which is the Duras clan wins. You've got a Klingon empire that's allied with the Romulan empire, and the balance of power shifted. That's true. But even though you know that, as Picard said, and as you're saying, Alan, he can't join that war because then he's getting involved. The Federation's involved in a civil war, which could have the Duras declare war against the Federation. So basically, they have to sit back and ultimately do things like what we're doing, supply things, do supplies and stuff like that, and hope that the right outcome happens. That's a scary thing to have to do.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love that. I love that scene when Worf resigns his commission
Mm.
and then sort of has like the honor guard, like, you know, as it's a big moment as he's leaving.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I was 11 or something when this came out, so like maybe Worf's not coming back. You know, maybe this is it. You know,
Right. I mean, and the way it's set up, it could easily have been that. You know, that's kind of where they were at the end of season 3 when, you know, you weren't sure if Patrick Stewart was leaving the show. So they leave, you know, Best of Both Worlds open-ended. I mean, this could easily have been the case with this one. And so, you know, you're left with that doubt for an entire summer.
Right.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And I think that this was one of the best cliffhangers. They're
Yeah.
two-parters, they're season ender two-parters where, they were mixed bag, but I think this one was a really successful one.
Are you
Especially
talking
with
about?
Hmm?
Go ahead.
No,
So
I was gonna say,
I was gonna
especially
are
with
you
that.
talk-
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I
Nope.
was gonna say, are you talking about with Worf leaving the Enterprise, or with Tasha Yar's daughter jumping out of the shadows at the end?
Well, that's exactly what I was just about to say. With that
Okay.
shadowy figure that we saw a couple of times throughout the episode, who then steps out of the shadow at the very end, and you're like, "What?"
Do you know what's
It was
weird?
a strange way of surprising you.
Yeah.
You know what's weird is on my television today, when they first showed her in the shadows, I could clearly see her face.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
weird. I'm not sure why. The other thing I was going to make two quick comments is what kind of military is the Federation where you can literally just tell your captain, I quit. And like an hour
Yes.
later, you're in another service. Then like a week later, like, hey, I'm back.
Yes.
I don't know any service on the planet where you can
That's
just do that.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. And I wish we had Vandy Beth on again this week to let us know if that's actually a thing that could happen.
Yeah.
You're
I'm gonna
Right,
go
forgetting-
German
you
Russian.
have to let us know now.
Right.
And the other quick thing I was going to say, Ali, you talked about Lursen Bator. My God, and the return of Kern. What a cool Klingon. Even the way that guy walks. I mean, he
Yes,
stalks
yes,
when he
yes,
walks. And I don't know if
yes.
you noticed, but in the incredibly good opening of the second part of Redemption, when they have the whole battle and they fly into the sun, and he
Yeah.
yells, I think it's because of the false teeth, but if you look, there's literally like spittle running down the actor's mouth, I think because of those false teeth, and it just adds to Kern as bloodlust. It
I
was great.
doubt it. I bet you it doesn't have anything to do with the false teeth. I bet you that's the performance.
It's so good.
I love it.
I love him.
I just want to say, Tony Todd is
Yes.
phenomenal, but so is Robert O'Reilly.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yes.
The
Gowron.
first time that Gowron came on screen in an episode, I was like, pardon the language, that is the most batshit crazy Klingon I have ever seen.
Yes.
And he freaks me out and I love it.
Yes.
And man, he is so good. And he's just as good in this one too.
Yes. Yes. And he has some great lines with Worf too. Like I love every single time. I love the scene in the transporter room when Worf says, I would speak with you. And then he says, I don't hear the voice of traitors. And then when Worf tells him what happened, he goes, the council knew. And all of a sudden, because again, he's like, holy crap, they're all against me. Kill them
Yes.
all.
And when you get an actor who understands the sort of the nuance and the mannerism of a Klingon, and they throw themselves into it, man, you get a powerful character. So like the guy who's officiating the ceremony was okay, but he ain't no Tony Todd, and he ain't no Robert O'Reilly, and he ain't no
Agreed.
right. So let me get a couple of comments real quick. Matt Sweatman says, I noticed for the first time in this viewing that Worf has the spiked gauntlet from Code of Honor in his quarters for some reason. Yeah, he's a hoarder. What can you say? Matt also says,
I think he practices way to kill people in his spare time. I think while he's watching television, he's probably doing stuff.
Yeah, probably. He says, with high def, you could clearly see Denise Crosby in early scenes. In the mind's eye, you could clearly see it wasn't Denise, though it was her voice.
Interesting, Matt, because I absolutely positively remember on first one watching this, I could not see her face, but today I saw her face clear as day.
Well, when you're watching it in 88 or whatever it is, TVs aren't as high def, and this was also a remastered version, so there's a lot. Let me. Wait, we got that one. Did we get? Okay, yeah, we got. Okay, so his last one is Tony Todd is my favorite Klingon performance of all time.
Wow,
that's a good one.
That's ahead of Dorn, ahead of J.G. Hertzler, ahead of John Colicos.
What?
I'm gonna raise you J.G. Hertzler, but Tony Todd, man, you can't argue with that at all. He is great. So good.
Yeah,
so good. Great. Whew. All right. So, is there anything about part 2 that we didn't touch on? I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there is. I mean, the biggest thing about part 2 that I love is Data in Command.
Yes,
I think it's a great little subplot for Data.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love the guy who's like, clearly insubordinate.
Yes.
And Data ain't going to take none of his crap. And I love it.
Mm-hmm. He's almost like a Boma or Styles,
Yeah.
where he's just the jerk you love, but he plays it really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it me? He comes off with almost a Bill Murray vibe. He's so kind of relaxed and chill and laid back. It's like what I like about that, what I like is that, we always talk about how Data has no emotions, but I love the way Data, whatever that is, when he yelled at that guy and frowns at him, whatever it is, he knows how to project it because boy, he was great with that guy. He slapped his, what down.
I love the Data line. Oh, I understand. Request denied.
Exactly.
It just continues on.
It is awesome.
That's one of my favorite moments. I think the
really
blockade is a little silly, especially when the ploy to sidestep it is to like take out a ship and open up a hole, and the ship they open up is at the edge. Just fly around it, for God's sake. I mean,
over.
Oh yeah, right.
I think people don't understand 3-dimensional fighting.
Well, it's the space lake. Star Trek often has a space lake where all the ships are on the same plane and there's no over.
Right.
But yeah,
Someone needs to watch read Ender's Game.
Right, or watch Star Trek 2.
Yeah, but other than that, man, fantastic two-parter.
Yeah, Redemption is great. I mean, Next Gen was at a really great place by this point in its series.
Yeah. It was firing on all cylinders, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love I love at the end, the last quick thing is when Picard had a very quick moment of concern on his face when he wondered would Worf kill Terrell, because any other Klingon would have and have the right to for a whole bunch of reasons. And I like what he said, it's not my way. Yeah. That was really cool.
It is the Klingon way. Well, it's not my way.
Yeah, I mean, nobody expected him. I didn't expect him to kill. I mean, killing Duras was cool enough.
Yeah, but Duras had a better reason.
Yeah, he needed to kill it.
But I was gonna say on that same point, years later at the end of DS9, when he kills Gowron, that took me by surprise. Mm-hmm. But spoiler, sorry about that.
I forgot about that.
I thoroughly enjoyed the episodes. I wasn't bored. It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed Redemption.
Yeah, great stuff.
All right, we want to move on to DS9 and talk about the ship.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed the ship. It didn't bore me. I enjoyed it.
I just want to say, number 100, man, we landed on some really good episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Whoo, baby.
Let me ask y'all one quick question off front, because the whole point of this is the Cisco and crew are on this planet doing a mineral survey, and this Jem'Hadar ship crashes. What did y'all think about that? Jeffrey Combs has ruined Vorta for everybody. End of story. Yes. But did y'all like her as a Vorta? Did you think she held her own as a Vorta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun. Okay, I want to talk about. There's a thing about this episode, and it's that exactly 1 year later they did the same episode again with Rocks and Shoals, right?
Oh, so, another excellent show. Yeah.
And the thing is that you can basically the B plot is different, because the B plot in Rocks and Shoals, the Dominion War is going on. And it's got the B plot of the Vedic who comes on the station and throws herself off the ledge and hangs herself to get Kira out of her malaise. Holy, that is powerful stuff. But the A plot is basically the same thing. And both episodes are so good.
They work, don't they?
They do.
Kind of full circle with this ship. This ship is bad luck. It's gonna hit a planet if you fly in it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What I love about this episode, and there's a lot that I love about this episode, is that you see the danger of being in Starfleet, because you see a shuttlecraft and its whole crew just get wiped out. Yeah. And then you have a casualty in the landing party, and you don't get a lot of backstory or anything, but he's just likable, and you connect with him immediately because he has that rapport with Chief O'Brien, and he dies, and it just tells you this is a dangerous situation, and I think that is so strong.
jumping ahead a bit, when he was hallucinating and started calling O'Brien his father, that tears me up every time.
Oh man.
Sorry,
So-
Veronica.
I was gonna say that I thought O'Brien was kind of being a butthead to him at the beginning. And like, I can't tell if he's teasing him or if he's really annoyed with him or
He's
what.
teasing, I think.
Yeah, but it came across as being a butthead. And I also realized that same actor was in Redemption as well on the Enterprise.
What?
Was
Yeah.
he?
I didn't realize that.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm pretty yeah, okay. It looked like the same guy. He had the same uniform.
He had a Starfleet insignia on
Look.
his chest.
He was talking with Miles.
There's about a
Just
45% chance that's the same actor.
Yes.
One thing I will say, starting out in the show, is I do think Cisco made a mistake here, because they're in Dominion territory, and they talk about once they start mining this mineral, it'll be a little difficult because of security. But Cisco says he was surprised that a Dominion ship came to this planet because it's 3 weeks away from like the nearest outpost or station. I don't consider 3 weeks travel all that far. And so he probably should have brought the Defiant in the first place instead of just a little shuttle, a runabout or whatever. So that was a very slight mistake, I think.
Right, but if the nearest outpost is 3 weeks away and they can get from DS9 to there in like a day and a half, 2 days, whatever it was, then yeah, that's kind of far away to me.
I'd be more cautious. Given who they are. But look, I'll put it this way: given what was going on, I wouldn't be going anywhere with just a runabout. I'd be taking the Defiant. I'd be taking the Defiant to go to the grocery store. But that's me.
Right.
but I thought, and I think what you, Alan, I thought you made a good point that I hadn't thought about. Is you had 2 episodes a year apart that were the exact same episode basically, and they had different Vorta. And even though Jeffrey Combs Wayoon is the Vorta, all these Vorta, they all work in a different way. They get on your nerves. They're so oily and they're so ingratiating, and they're just like she says, "Oh, you're much taller than I thought." You can tell she's kind of trying to vamp him, and she's so smooth. And then when she has the one Jim Hadar sneak aboard the ship, she's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Can we just reset and start over again? If you don't mind, can we just pretend I didn't do that?
Can I have a do-over?"
Yeah, I like her a lot, but I also like the guy who is in Rocks and Shoals as well. I think he's really good.
Yep.
Right.
I wish they would use the other Vorta more. I mean, I love Jeffrey Combs, and he should have been the only Vorta in general. But
I think they're all good because they show you how they are. They're just so oily in their program. And I thought it was a really funny scene when she offered him some food. And she said it's not poisonous, and he said to you. And I remember Jeffrey Combs, one of the episodes, Wayoon said they have been genetically engineered to be almost immune to all poisons. So
that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, one thing I love about this episode is just the interpersonal relationships and the conflicts between everybody. Everyone's stressed. Everyone's mad at each other. That scene where Cisco just sort of snaps everybody back into place, and man, that line where the Dax, in case you haven't noticed, no one's laughing, and
that was great.
If he was my boss, I feel about this big.
But the thing is, Jadzia is usually the only one that can get away with stuff and that is going to be in step with him, and when he snaps at her, you know it is serious.
Yeah, because oftentimes, Alan, I will say that when Jadzia cracks jokes, they actually work. They actually sometimes they work to diffuse the situation to make you laugh.
Exactly.
You're right. At this point in time, he's like, "No, stop with the jokes, old man. This is not
exactly."
Funny.
I also really
and he didn't even call her old man. He said Jadzia.
Exactly. If he's not calling her,
Dax, he said Jadzia.
Right.
Yes.
I also really love the conflict between O'Brien and Worf about how to address the dying guys dying. I thought that was so interesting. The cultural difference, the different perspective on what death means and its finality and its inevitability. I thought that was really, really well done.
I felt. Sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Go ahead, Keith.
Dude, I haven't been here for 3 weeks, so I'm talking a lot. So
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Did y'all feel? Now, this is the note I wrote. I felt very slightly. It didn't bother me. I felt very slightly that Worf and O'Brien went very slightly a little beyond what I think their normal characters would have been to make the story work. O'Brien, as the engineer who needed to fix that ship, was spending a whole bunch of time trying to play nursemaid to Enrique when his job should have been fixing the ship. So I thought that was a little out of character, even though that was his man. And I also thought, even though I know how Worf is, I also thought Worf's initial statements of just let him die and tell him, I thought it was just a little callous, even for Worf, how he said it. Just a little bit. That was me.
But they're in a situation of extreme duress. You have to make a decision and go. You can't, fart around with, is this guy going to die or not? You have to make that call and move on because you're being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was out of place at all. I think that in the situation that he was in, I think that is pure Worf.
See, I think it would have worked a bit better, that storyline with Worf, like season 1 or 2 of Next Gen, rather than after we've seen him serving with humans for like 10 years.
Yeah,
of TV time.
Like he would know at this point that this is not how humans think.
Right. And he was a bit callous about it, but I love the drama that it created between those two guys. And like when Worf came on DS9, his first episode, and they remind you that he used to serve with O'Brien. They're old buddies. They served on the Enterprise together. And now these old buddies are at each other's throats.
Yeah. Hey, I kind of looked away when they had their confrontation. Did O'Brien actually physically hit Worf?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, he just took a swing at him then?
Yeah, I don't remember him actually hitting Worf. No,
I don't remember him swinging at him.
Yeah. It was when Cisco was. This was when the whole thing when they got in each other's faces and Cisco started yelling at them. I looked away, so I couldn't remember if he hit him or not.
No.
Okay.
If I was O'Brien, I would not hit Worf.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, not a good thing. One thing I like about this, and this is so obvious, and everybody knows this, is if you listen to the DS9 showrunners, this whole arc, I mean, that just goes on with the whole Dominion War, this show, and Rocks and Shoals, as you mentioned, Alan, and everything else. You can find a corollary to almost every great World War II movie and show ever done, because these guys, every one of these, they were lifting this from World War II movies and stuff like that, because it feels like a World War II movie, like you said. Yeah. And this time, maybe because of what I've been through recently, but I tell you, I was feeling the nervous jitters when they kept shelling and they kept shelling and they kept shelling.
Yeah.
Remember, they kept saying how many isotons of explosions were just raining down on them, just over and over. I felt that, which is what their point, the psychological warfare.
Right on.
And I think the crew was feeling that too, because this episode about killed everybody, because it was over 100 degrees, and you've got Jim Hadar in full makeup, like passing out.
Yes,
they had a rough time making this show.
Right.
It also it's the thing that also it reminds me of how in real life you wouldn't have those same uniforms on field missions. Yeah, because you think about those same uniforms that they're wearing, as you say, in that valley, in that 100-degree valley, they wouldn't wear those in field missions out in the field.
Right.
And so you're right. And I think, and it's funny in that one you talked about on Rocks and Shoals, is that wasn't Jadzia on that one as well, but she was injured the whole time?
Yeah, she's basically in the Kike position, but she doesn't die.
That was because Terry Farrell couldn't take the heat, and she just couldn't deal with it. And they ended up basically writing it where she could stay out of the heat and inside more, and she didn't have to have as many outside scenes because she just couldn't take it, because and then there were some on the staff who were like, well, we have to deal with this outside weather, why can't she? But she was pretty much there were some issues going on where she was pretty much thought she was going to faint and not be able to handle it, because as you say, even standing outside, those scenes, like a 5-minute recorded scene could be 30-40 minutes of actual standing out there.
Oh yeah,
and
more than that.
Yeah, that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me get
so go ahead.
I'm just going to get a comment from Matt. It's been sitting there for like 10 minutes. I think the moral of the lack of trust kept them from coming to an agreement is undercut a bit by the fact that nearly all the mistrust came from the Dominion side.
What do y'all think?
I think that's a good point.
I agree. What do you think about that? Veronica,
I don't know that everybody mistrust each other on the Federation side, but there was a lot more conflict than you see in a typical episode, a typical
Right.
mission. You know,
Yeah.
so I think everyone was sort of everyone was heightened. I don't know that they mistrusted each other, but I mean the Federation. I mean they were stealing a Dominion ship.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that. I guess they're salvaging it, but
Mm.
I mean they knew who that ship belonged to when they seized it. You know what I mean?
And
They know what they're
also,
doing.
yeah, also Veronica, Matt just said that the whole point at the end where Cisco said basically if we had all maybe if we had trusted each other a little bit, Matt said that statement was undercut by the fact that basically the Dominion was untrustworthy. Because I kind of agree with that. I don't know if Cisco could have trusted. I mean, she lied from the
No.
start. She said, and then she tried to do an end run. So, and actually, do Vorta really keep their word if they say they're going to keep their word?
No,
Would she have let them go?
no.
But I think what he's saying is that it undercuts it because the bad guys are the ones that are acting untrustworthy or untrustful, not the good
Agreed.
guys.
Exactly.
know? It wasn't a matter of we didn't trust each other. It was a matter of you didn't trust us.
Right.
If you had just told us what you were looking for, we would have, turned it over to you. But I
Yep.
did like that at the end where Cisco, when he realized what it was that they were after, he said, "Of course I wouldn't have killed it or whatever." It was just one of those, if you think that of me and of us, then you don't know us.
I don't think I'll say this. I don't think that had Cisco discovered that the founder was there, I don't think that he would have given it over, and I also don't think that he should have given it over because that's your bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've
Right.
got a founder hostage.
Right.
You know, as the enemy combatant.
Right.
Yeah. And also I was thinking about this, even if the Vorta kept her word, let's say because she said, although I find it weird that you would give a ship to the enemy, although the founder's a
Yeah.
god, let's say she fully intended to keep her word. What was to stop the founder even sick just saying kill them all? That's it in the story. The founder
Yep.
tells her to go on her word, she kills them all.
Yep.
And
Right.
the founder sure as hell was not going to let them, assuming the founder could have been saved. The founder sure as hell wasn't going to let Cisco and crew go, no matter what the Vorta had told them she was going
Right.
to do. So,
Oh.
what a. I also thought it was interesting when they said all the Jem'Hadar killed themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and my thought was, Vorta, you need to go ahead and kill yourself. There's no way I can see that she's going to survive. I'm sure that her clone was activated when she got back.
Right. Right.
Because the
Yeah.
founder died on her watch.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah. True.
The Jem'Hadar killing themselves too, I think is a product of the 42-minute runtime being
Oh,
up
yeah.
at that point. You know what I mean? Like we need to wrap this episode up. We've got 2 minutes left. Okay,
Yeah.
the Jem'Hadar
Good
killed
point.
themselves. Let's all go home.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. I thought it was touching at the end when Worf, I would assume, made up that Klingon ritual of sitting with a body, because we know that Klingons don't sit with bodies because as soon as a person dies, they say it's an empty
Mhm.
shell.
That's right.
And they have never shown, even with Kalar, that's not what they do.
Right.
Once the person's dead, the body's a shell. So I assumed he made that up so he
Yeah.
could sit with Brian, and I thought that was really touching scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Agreed.
so. I like that it gave them some resolution at the end.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was very good.
All right, we ready to
All
move
right.
over to Voyager?
Voyager.
Talk about Timeless.
Timeless.
Yes.
Timeless is a cool episode. I like
Yes,
Timeless.
it is.
Really good. It is so good.
I mean, even just the first time watch, I remember that. I think it was even in the promo of the Voyager crashing on that ice planet.
Yeah.
And that was back when those kind of special effects were sort of new to Star Trek. And it was just like, whoa,
Yes.
the Voyager's crashing on an ice planet, you know?
It still
Yeah.
looks good.
It still
it
looks
does.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those
Uh,
scenes where you just can barely see it underneath a sheet of ice
Mhm.
is
Ah.
so cool. I want to know that they just took the existing sets, and iced them over basically and made it look like they were snowy. I wonder how long that took and how long it took to clean them up to film
Yeah.
the next week's episode.
Right. If you're the guy who has to spray it down with whatever and then clean it back up so they can film next week.
Right,
who wrote
exactly.
this? You're complaining the whole time. Oh, just
Exactly.
cover it with ice, no problem.
Right.
I love that scene where he reactivates the doctor and has just got no time to explain to him. It's just like, yeah, everyone's dead. It's been 15 years. Come on, get your mobile emitter.
Right.
Like, what?
That is really good. One thing I do like about this episode is it uses the two of the most underused characters, of course, Ensign Kim and Chakotay.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to be able to see those two basically carry the entire show and get some dramatic acting, because those are the two who are the most underused, and especially Garrett Wong to be able to carry it. So I thought that was really good. I thought they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. And especially on something as important as your 100th episode. If you're going to do something special for your 100th, and you're going to give it to the junior most member of your crew,
right?
I think that's really cool. And I think he was just fabulous in that episode.
Right. But
he always is. He always is. So
yeah. Here's a question I had. Chakotay, in talking to Janeway, said literally, and I think obviously Tom Paris said it. Chakotay said, if this was any other engineer, if this was anywhere else, we wouldn't try this. So should Chakotay have tried harder to talk Janeway out of this? Because he told her going in this was a risk. But she basically did the whole, are you with me, Chakotay? And then got up and kind of rubbed the shoulders. And he's like, okay, I'm always with you.
But he's not always with her.
No, he's not.
Yeah. So I wonder, should he have fought a little harder? Because he was not comfortable with this.
Yeah.
You think so?
Because they had the whole thing was kind of ill-conceived, because they had a big christening ceremony and have a party and break the bottle, and they're like, yeah, we're all gonna die. I thought
like, could he not
simulation first?
Thank you. Could he not have said something before they gathered the whole crew in engineering and broke a champagne bottle? I mean, come on. That was, it's like, oh, the ceremony's over. Now we have to tell people that it ain't going to work. Come on.
Where was the R&D on this thing? They just had the idea and smashed a bottle and let's go.
Yeah, because you're right. Because after the party, Tom ran 23 straight simulations, and every one of them ended in disaster.
Right. Did they run 0 simulations before the party?
Right.
I don't know.
They had to have. I mean, yeah, that part does not make any sense.
No.
And also, as you say, I think when I was listening to it, Kim said that they had 17 seconds time lead between when he got the calculations and he got to send it to the ship. 17 seconds.
That's a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah. But not for what they were doing, and boy, oh boy! And then, I following what you were saying there, Charles, about the simulations. Then when they do the first one, Kim is sitting there, basically trying to pump himself up. I can do this. You can do this. I'm like, holy crap, dude! Seriously? I can do this. I can do this. I got this. This is not the time to be acting like that.
Nope.
When your ships and
Right. I do like that they're building on the episode where they found the Dauntless, and they're building on that technology.
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, they're still to this day building on that, because the Prodigy is using that same storyline. You know,
right.
Slipstream technology on the Dauntless.
Right.
Yeah, because they have Slipstream.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that element of it. And although they said that Voyager hit that planet at full impulse, like, dude, there'd be a crater. You'd be miles down.
Yeah,
full
absolutely.
Impulse, like a fourth the speed of light.
Yeah. I thought the only thing, but you know what? Maybe this is what you show as you're right with human, because here's the point: the Voth, the dinosaur race, they use Slipstream, and we saw that with just a few minutes of Slipstream, they travel 10,000 light years. They travel 10 years journey. So what you're saying, Charles, is right. Y'all could have waited a few more months, even honestly, to do more study.
Right.
Because you could take another 3 months to get it 100% right. Because in 15 minutes, you could get like halfway home. You know, something like that. So I think it was a rare thing where, and this has only happened a couple of times, where Janeway's emotions and I think her guilt just overwhelmed her. And she's like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it. That's happened a couple of times in the show.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a ticking clock on the Benamite crystals?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If we don't use them now, it's hard to find more.
Exactly.
That's right.
I think it was like an hour, maybe never kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Because
good point.
because by the time they actually did the real flight, they were the crystals were already starting to break down.
Mhm.
So if they didn't go, that would have been a lost thing.
Yeah, maybe we'll find crystals again. Maybe we won't.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
I gotta
Right.
say, this episode has one of the most disturbing and creepy scenes I've ever seen in Star Trek, and that is the removal of Seven's brain parts.
Oh,
And then they were like holding them up, talking about them. It was
just
gross.
hanging them up in the air, like here they are.
It was really
with, her,
gross.
with her eyeball on it and everything. It was awesome.
Literally, yeah. And they were kind of like when they looked at her body. Chakotay said, "This is not a happy reunion." But after that, I didn't see a whole bunch of Seven. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then they were just like, "Hey Doc, you got those calculations?" And I'm looking over there, like you said, Alan. Literally, I'm looking at Seven's eyeball and part of her brain. I'm like, that was Seven.
Yeah.
Oh my, that was wild.
I think though that Kim and Chakotay are just sort of detached. Like they
Yeah.
have to be. Like we're
Exactly.
going back. All of our
They-
dead
they-
friends
yeah,
are
they-
there. We're getting this mission done. No time for a tearful
Yeah.
reunion with the Doctor. Let's get this done and get this timeline fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I had
What did y'all
thought.
think about LaForge? What did y'all think about Captain LaForge showing up?
I love that.
That was fabulous.
Yes.
He directed it too, right?
Yeah.
So he was there anyway.
Yeah.
Might as well.
He got 2 paychecks that day.
That's right. Now they need to
I
have
loved
Captain
it.
LaForge on Prodigy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought it
Anyway.
was cool that I forget the name, the Chakotay's girlfriend, but I always thought it was cool that there's a possibility that Chakotay could still meet her, because nothing happened, because she even said something like, "We might meet again," basically in the restored timeline. So I always thought that would have been cool. Would have been interesting if they had still met and fallen in love later on.
Well, I don't think they could have now, or if they did, he left her again.
No spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't seen at least at the beginning of Prodigy at this point, then
Yeah. Okay. 2 points. One, Chuck, you mentioned the cool thing about the slipstream thing was used again and is still being used in Prodigy, and that's one of the things that I thought was great about this. Is jumping back to our previous 2 episodes. That was great about the ship, because that plays heavily into season 6. The fact that they had captured a Jemadar ship comes back into play in season 6, and I really enjoyed that. And when you're talking about timelines and possible futures and all that kind of stuff, going back to our Next Generation episode, we have Tasha Yar's daughter. Shouldn't she be from a timeline that doesn't take place now? I mean, they were in. It was from what's it called? Yesterday's Enterprise, right? Which is a future that we don't have because of the change in that thing where the Enterprise C was destroyed and all that kind of stuff. So how can Sayla be here?
Well,
Because
now.
they sent Tasha back in time and
exactly.
changed the timeline, but the Tasha from that Yesterday's Enterprise timeline is the one who went back, and she continued to live after having changed the timeline, and she was captured by the Romulans. So it's the
Right.
Yesterday's Enterprise Tasha who is part of our history because she came back in time with the Enterprise C.
Okay.
So they
All right.
and so what they've been doing, this has been an issue with time travel and science fiction shows for the last few decades. There used to be the concept that it was basically one timeline. That every time you went back in time and changed it, it was the same timeline. Then over the last few years, there's the whole concept of multiverses where, technically in real life, I think, and the way I think quantum theory works, what Kim and Chakotay did is they did not save that Voyager. They saved another timeline very close to it. But to what you're saying, Alan, with the one with Yesterday's Enterprise, it's like they crossed the streams.
Yeah.
They jump from one timeline into the original timeline, which is why you have Sela. What I always find very interesting, real quickly, about Sela is, if you think about it, she's like 20 years old. And boy, does she rise in the ranks fast.
Yeah.
And Sela could have met Tasha Yar in season 1 of Next Gen. You know what I mean?
Wow.
That could have happened.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry. Back to Voyager.
Yeah. Well, one quick thing Go ahead, Charles.
No, go ahead.
I may be wrong on the episode. If I am, forgive me. But there was one episode that Garrett Wang did. It was the one whole episode about there was a planet where when people died, their bodies got covered with almost like a spider web thing, and they sent them through basically a dimensional portal, and they thought they were going to heaven.
Yes.
I think it was that episode that he did that showed Brandon Braga and Rick Berman that he might be able to carry a show, because as you know, Garrett Wang's entire battle throughout that entire series was respect. It was his mind getting respect for his character, getting better roles, not just getting promoted. And I think it was that episode called Emanations where they said, maybe he can actually carry a show, because they went to him and they said, based on what you've done on this other show, we're going to do this show, this one show that became timeless, and do it as the 100th episode. And he was excited and stunned and nervous because he rarely got to carry a show like that. And that's why he was made. And I thought he acquitted himself very well. He's very good in this episode.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job carrying the show all the way back where he had that alternate timeline where he was never on Voyager and he woke up in San Francisco. But that was a good one where he did a good job of carrying it. That was early in the show's run.
Yeah.
100%.
But I think it's fitting for these shows that, I mean, the next gen 100th episode is a Klingon mythology episode.
Right.
And DS9 is a Dominion episode. And then Voyager is a time travel reset the timeline episode. There's sort of each of them, I think, is kind of fitting for what those shows are. I mean, next gen wasn't Klingon mythology every week, but that was a big part of it for me as a viewer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
Thoroughly enjoyed. Of the three, do y'all have one that you would say would be your favorite of the three?
The ship.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Redemption so much.
But Timeless is good too.
Yeah, they are. They're all three fantastic episodes.
Yeah.
But
these are all strong ones.
The ship is just gripping.
I agree. I think it edges the others just a little bit, but they're all great shows. I really enjoyed all these shows again.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Alan, where can people find more of you?
Well, you could go to cosmicpress.com, KOZMICpress.com. And that's all you need to know.
You can find me on all the social media outlets, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And how about us, Veronica?
Feltnerdy.com.
And?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
And do you have a closing for us this week?
Allons-y.
What?
What's that mean?
Oh, that's a Doctor Who thing.
Yes, it is.
I'm wearing a TARDIS blanket.
It's French, and it translates into "Let's go."
Cool.
All right. So next week we are back live, we think. And what's our topic? We're going to do Prodigy, right?
The last two episodes of Prodigy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Which were very good.
That'll be the entire show. We'll just do that for that show.
Yeah, that's 2 episodes worth. I think we'll have enough to talk about there.
Exactly.
I got more than 2 episodes to watch, so I better get on that.
You better get on it, buddy.
Yeah, that'll be fun, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I guess that's it for us this week. Thank you all for joining us and chatting with us, and we will see you around the galaxy.
Thanks for participating and watching up on the shows.
Bye.